What's up, folks? This is Acid Roots. I'm going to talk to you guys about Crooked Eye's Apex Predator album. This is his debut, even though he's actually been in the game for a lot longer than 2013. I still wanted to go in on this because I have done the occasional Slaughterhouse member reviews. So I did do Joel Ortiz, and I've done Royce the 5'9". I might do Joe Budden, but I wanted to do Crooked Eye just because I don't know him that well. But a little bit of background on this guy is he's from the West Coast. He was signed to Death Row for a little while, so that, Snoop Dogg, Tupac label, he was on there. He kind of showed up at a bad time, but they kind of scrapped his album, and then he was gonna, apparently he was gonna mess with Dr. Dre a bit on Aftermath or something, but Dre was trying to work on 2001 and the Marshall Mathers LP, so they only wanted to focus on a certain West Coast, they only wanted to mess with Dr. Dre at the moment, so they pushed him back. But Crooked Eye has actually been around for a good while, so that's the thing about it, is he's been around since before 2005. So, obviously 14 years, but then probably a little bit before that too, probably since back in the 90s. So it's been quite some time for him to just recently put out his debut album just 6 years ago, which is actually less than 6 years. So, Slaughterhouse, I think helped ordain that album, but the whole thing about that was, to me, the Slaughterhouse group was a lot more revere was attached to it more so than actual work. It just felt like, getting those guys together was just the talk of it more so than the actual quality, just because they only did one thing. Or they did 2 albums, but they only did one on Eminem's label, and they never really released singles in between. They didn't do videos that much. All 4 of the members basically said that they just wanted to do solo work, and then that was the end of it. So obviously it just led me to kind of just seek out the solo members, but I did want that Glass House album that was supposed to come out back in 2015. I was really looking forward to that in the beginning years of Acid Roots, but it just never materialized. But, this album, Apex Predator, came out less than a year after the 2012 Slaughterhouse album, and it's good. I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's really kind of atypical whether or not I would actually want to purchase it, but I probably will wind up doing that anyways. There's 11 songs, but only like 4 or 5 of them are really worth noting. I mean, it's not like a crap album, but in terms of just litness and, a certain attachment to like style and on top of the album, it just doesn't have that as much. But it's better than Joel Ortiz was, and it's probably better than some. I mean, he does a better job than Royce the 5'9" does, so I think I actually like him better. But this album really doesn't sound like a West Coast album, which is kind of the thing. I can't see any West Coast traces. The only real cat I know on there from the guest features is just Tech N9ne. I figured, well, they seem to have good chemistry, and Tech N9ne usually nails the guest verses. But I mean, I recently purchased the Corrupt from Dog Pound album, and he was on there, and I thought that was a pretty good surprise. So yeah, Crooked Eye is West Coast, but it doesn't sound like a West Coast album, which it sounds more East Coast if you really want the opinion on that. I mean, I would have to say that it kind of sounds like something Ghostface Killah would do, or someone from Wu-Tang, or just one of those dudes from up in the East Coast and that sort of thing, New York type style. But I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I need to crack my jaw. Yeah, so really there were singles released from this project, but there was only really one that was kind of released as an exact single, and that was just No Sleep Gang. And that's the best song on here. For me, I would think, Royce the 5'9" needs to take note of this sort of thing, just because to have a hit first single, that's going to be for the underground cats that never really get more than one or two music videos, I feel like that's kind of the way to get people to purchase the album. I mean, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but it basically is the truth. So that's good that the first single is actually the best song on here. The problem with it is the second best song. This is kind of the similar thing that Hobson does, is he has a good first single, and then the Tech N9ne song is good, but then a lot of other stuff is just kind of, you just don't see yourself listening to it unless you're really kind of homebound or something like that. And I would just have to say the second best song in my opinion would be the Tech N9ne Let Me Get It song, but he did actually release some other music videos. So that was kind of the thing there. You had Yodo, which is You Only Die Once, and that one kind of has like a pretty jungle-ish beat that kind of felt like a promotional single maybe, but it was okay. I liked when you started getting to the hook and stuff, the beat kind of changes. I did appreciate that. And then some of the other videos that came out were Something from Nothing, and I think there was like Nobody Cares, but those were just kind of, I mean, I would almost think even though they had a music video for them, they didn't seem that interesting just because, the songs are just so calm. It probably would have been something like you would have seen them at a restaurant or something, like a fancy restaurant eating, like lobster or something like that, and just where you would dress. Those seem more like dress up videos more so than kind of more low key and Liddy type songs or something like that. Just more outgoing ones. But obviously that's kind of the balance between it. It kind of goes back and forth with whether or not you like that, but it does have some good some good songs. I just would have liked it to had a little bit more. It just didn't seem to have too much of a theme on recreation. It almost halfway feels like a chore to listen to the album. And it's not so much that it's bad. It just, it just has different moods. I think that's the better way of putting it. So, but Crook and Porter's another good one. I'm glad he did a video for that one. And I might I'm going to start reviewing music videos soon, but I'm going to look into a few of these just to see if they're actually worthwhile. But he did pick a good one. I do think he probably should have done the Tech N9ne song, but I mean, that's the thing. I mean, with your debut album, you do have to get more than one hit single. That's the thing about it is, obviously he had been there for a while, but I would have liked to have seen a second single just to kind of get his career in place. But, obviously he does have an online following and all that, so it's not like he's only selling, 1,200, 3,500 copies in the first week. He probably gets to 5 digits, but it's just kind of in between and stuff. So, so yeah, those are the videos. I think he did one other one that I'm not naming. Can't really remember it. Yodo, Nobody Cares, Something from Nothing, Crook and Porter, and No Sleep Gang. Those are the videos. So, besides that, the songs that I recommend to you that I would say you should check out would be No Sleep Gang, Apex Predator, Let Me Get It, and Yodo. That's a good song. I was gonna say that that's an Almost song, which is a song that almost is one of my picks, but I'm just gonna say it is. And then Crook and Porter. So those 5 would basically be, that's out of 11. So, that's a little less than half the album. There's no skits, but it's a pretty centered project. I mean, you get a sense of who Crooked Eye is, and the main thing about that is, you get the lyrics from him because he doesn't put, he doesn't put the guests on his, music video songs, but I would just have to say I like the fact, me wanting to go in and listen to his lyrics. But the problem with it is once I get used to the lyrics, once I start saying, like right now, I've noted that he's pretty similar sounding voice to Royce da 5'9", so it's almost hard to tell them apart when they're on the same song. But then on top of that, just for me to say, okay, how good are these songs? Yeah, I just need to listen to the lyrics a little bit better to be able to decide if I'm actually, interested. Because once I like the lyrics, I do start to want to hear more songs like the good songs. I just have a process between when I decide to start, actually enjoying a person more. I mean, I can listen to rap music in general, but for me to actually take a liking to something, it's a more intricate process. So I'm kind of in that stage right now, I would say. But yeah, so I'm gonna give this album, basically a 5 out of 10. I mean, it's middle of the road. I mean, it really could have used a second song as good as No Sleep Gang. That is the best song, but folks like Stevie Stone have done that. Uh, Chris Calico kind of does that. Some of these folks, Cut Calhoun, folks on Tech N9ne's label, Royce the 5'9" does that. Just some of these folks that sell 5 digits in their first week, they do manage to get the good first single. Even Tech N9ne's been guilty of doing that at times, but just not being able to get the second single and then some good videos on top of that. And I can't judge the videos because they actually might be good, but I can judge the songs because I've listened to them, and I probably wouldn't want to watch the videos because I didn't enjoy the songs. So, but Yodo and You Only Die Once, and then Crook and Porter are both ones that I would probably go for beyond that, but they just feel like they're just gonna only be promotional singles. So, but as far as that goes, I would basically say that it does have some hits, but it just is kind of a mixed bag just because it just depends upon the mood that you're willing to listen to. If you're just in a calmer mood, it's probably gonna hit close to home, but if not, it feels more like you're gonna have some hunger there. It's gonna leave you hungry. So yeah, I would just say, obviously I was just itching for more songs like No Sleep Gang, and then the Tech N9ne song was nice. So yeah, so I give this album a 5. The social score basically gets like a 3 just because, I mean, it has 5 music videos, but you just have to decide your taste for it. And obviously it's a 6-year-old album, so this is it's kind of here and there. But yeah, so I would just say social score is that. I mean, whether or not what's coming, I mean, he dropped an album in 2017, so he'll be back. But it is one, obviously this was it showed promise, but I just don't want this to be like a repeat thing where this is what you're getting every Crooked Eye album is, 2 or 3 good songs and then a bunch of overly personal songs that just kind of weigh it down and make it kind of a drab. So, but it shouldn't happen, but if it does, you know where I stand. So, 5 out of 10, 3 social.